Hey everyone and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the art of saying no, one of the most important skills to develop on your league journey. Climbing in solo queue is equal parts making plays as well as saying no to plays, right? And not making plays. Even though this may not make sense to you right now, wait till we get into the clips and I will show you how important this skill is to develop. This might be one of the most misunderstood concepts of all time. Across my thousands and thousands of coaching sessions across the past few years in only mid lane, I would say this mistake across, let's say I do 10 reviews, 9 out of 10 reviews, someone makes this mistake in a game. 9 out of 10, right? This is an incredibly common mistake. And due to the invisible nature of this mistake, which we'll get into later, people really struggle to improve at it. So we're going to get into the details. Let's start by taking a look at a few clips. Getting into the details, guys, I've basically picked a handful of random mistakes from the last week of my coaching from MLA clients, all right? MLA coaching clients. I've actually picked a wide variety of clients ranging from gold, platinum, diamond, and master tier across both NA and EU West to really show that this is not really at a specific ELO bracket or on a specific server. Okay, this happens on a daily basis. I coach 5 days a week. This happens every single day. This is one of the most common mistakes I see right now inside the MLA. So to give a bit of context, this Kiana is in a pretty good spot. She's versing a Xerath mid, 1-0-1, farming pretty well right now. And also at this stage in time, at this point in time, the Gwen actually solo killed her opponent top, a Rengar top. And I believe the Gwen right now was 3-1, doing a really, really good job. Her bot lane, this Kiana's bot lane just died right now. And she decides to TP bot to try and defend the tower, right? And at this point in time, the Jarvan, I believe, is also 4-1, very strong as well. They've also got 2 dragons. So to really recap, 2 dragons, they're up 2 dragons, fed Jarvan, fed Gwen, and, Kiana herself is doing a really good job heading into this mid game. So she TPs, and instead of just catching the wave and shoving out the wave, look what she does. She flash ults and uses everything onto a Zac support with Tarbies, double Ruby Crystal, and a Cloth Armor. So obviously, can't one-shot. Jarvan now compensates for that mistake. The Jarvan tries to follow up and defend the Kiana, and he dies as well, giving a 400 gold shutdown to the Xerath, okay? Now, let's take stock of the situation. Xerath now back into the game with a 400 gold shutdown. Jarvan now 4-2 instead. Kiana now has no flash, no TP, no ultimate. And all that entire time, Gwen had just got the top tower, solo killed the Rengar, and is dominating topside. And again, remember, 2 dragons as well. This is a classic example of a play where if you simply say no to a play, literally do nothing. If you just shove mid-wave, get it, and then move down, or even TP, collect the wave, shove the wave out, tell your AD carry to go mid, collect that wave, then swap after that. If you just do nothing, just literally catch CS, your chances of winning the game are probably doubled. Your chances of winning this game now are probably halved from simply making a play. But how crazy is that? By making a play, you're literally lowering your chances of winning. Now, I'm going to give the Kiana the benefit of the doubt. Let's say hypothetically that Zac did die. Let's say it was a glass cannon Zac support and the Kiana actually one-shot. We go back here. The Zac actually got one shot here. Even if this Zac got killed, right? It wouldn't even matter because the thing is that you've just burned flash ult for a support when they were going to reset anyway and the play was over. And if you die and trade 1-for-1, it is no way worth it in a million years because now, again, Jarvan compensates, you've wasted your flash ult in a very low value fashion and we're playing away from our win conditions. Okay, so this is the taster, right? There's going to be plenty more to come, but this is just the taster. There's another great example that I'm going to go over in the same game that really pushes home this concept. So we're later on in this game, 16 minutes 30. The bot lane actually salvaged the lane. They end up getting bot tower right now, killing their AD carry, killing their jungler, still on 2 dragons. This Gwen is absolutely out of control on top side with 2 items. Kiana's still doing a great job. Jarvan's out of control. The game is over, right? The game is literally over. All we need to do is take neutrals, group up as a team, play around stacked dragons. You can even play on Baron, on spawn. You don't really have to do much to win the game, right? I mean, we just have to basically keep up our farm and not go in randomly, right? What happens here, if we fast forward, the Varus and the Ashe bot lane, they get their tower, they want to spend their gold, they're probably sitting on a lot of gold right now, Jarvan's on bot side chilling, and they're just, they're going to swap up the lane assignments right now. Now, in this situation, we just need to not do anything. We just need to not make a play. Literally just farm, relax, wait for your team to come back on the map and literally do nothing. We should be pinging back right now on Gwen because we don't want to make a play right now. We don't want a single thing to happen right now because they're the ones going to be coming out of base first. But we hover the Gwen. We probably influence the Gwen through body language. Right? This Gwen was actually recalling before. Maybe Gwen potentially stuck around because the Gwen saw Qiyana hover. But, I'm going to pretend that doesn't exist for now. Let's just pretend that the Gwen was always going to do this. Right? We could have most definitely communicated to the Gwen that we don't want anything to happen right now. We maybe swap the lane assignments or even just ping her back and ping danger because we have a freed up mental stack right now to read the map and understand that we shouldn't be really making a play right now. Now, not to mention, she goes in, compensates for the Gwen, tries to make something happen. Qiyana now gets caught. And now look at that. 550 gold shutdown to the Rengar. Qiyana now also dead. Wasted ultimate. Now the team is now thinking, oh, holy moly. Okay, they've died, but we're strong. I still want to fight. So now the Jarvan and the Varus and the Ashe are trying to make up for what happened, and now they're fighting at a man disadvantage. And now your entire team just got aced, giving a bunch of shutdowns when the game was literally unlosable. Think about this again. The second time in this game, by actually making a play happen, trying to do something rather than nothing, rather than just saying no, doing something, the game has just been made twice, if not 3 times or 4 times as hard. For no real reason. Okay? Now, one of the things we're going to really be talking about in this video is the importance of visualizing alternatives. I want you guys to take a second to visualize. If we go back here, imagine just visualize for a second. Imagine if we maybe just go take a Raptors camp, or we stay mid and catch this next wave, and we ping back on Gwen, or maybe clear a little bit of vision here, and we just wait until our team comes back up and play for Rift Herald with our ultimate. Visualize for a second how much better the game state would be. If you were in the enemy shoes, if you were the enemy right now, imagine if you were that behind Rengar, or a Xerath getting shoved to tier 2, or whatever it might be. Imagine you're the Zac support versus an incredibly fed Gwen and a Jarvan and a Qiyana trying to contest them around neutrals. What are you going to do? How do you win the game? I genuinely don't know, right? And so this is, again, another example of why sometimes saying no to a play or not making play is the best play. Moving on here. This is a Diamond Varus mid lane. Shout out Foxy, very, very, funny dude. Love this guy. It is in a very, really good position, right? He has 3 dragons. His Yone was, doing really well topside. Viego's doing pretty well. Not an overly skewed game. I mean, look, I would say that they're definitely in a commanding position, but it's not an easy game. Now, what happens in this situation is that he shoves out mid. His Karthus is dead, Taric in base, and the Viego's kind of clearing camps on that top side. And then what he does, he pings assistance, but just goes in by himself, tries to make a play, be the hero, and basically goes in, Kindred ult drops down. Yone decides to try and compensate. As you can see, guys, it's started to become a little bit of a trend, and dies, and also cost the Yone's R, and I believe his life on the back end as well. Just think about that. Again, by making a play, by trying to make something happen in a situation where you shouldn't be making a play, you've not only killed yourself, burnt a key cooldown, when you could have actually reset for your Rift Maker, which is a core pivotal spike for Varus right now. You made a play instead, baiting in your team, and not only costing your life, but burning Yone's ultimate and Yone's life as well. Again, a classic example is if we just chilled for a second, wait for Viego to clear camps, go back to base, get your Rift Maker, come back on the map later, the game would be considerably easier. Now, in this situation, to give a bit of context, this Ari's Scion, I believe, was like 0-9, right? Doing really, really not a good job. But the Xayah Lulu were dominating. The Xayah, I believe, was 5-0 or something, really, really fed. He had a clear win condition. This was, I believe, low plat, like high gold, I believe in NA. And in this situation, all you need to do is literally just sit on top of your Xayah. Play with your Xayah Lulu. You probably can't lose a single team fight. Amumu goes in, he dies, and instead of saying no to this and just relaxing, peeling back on your Xayah, we go deep, we try to be the hero, one-shot the A-Soul, completely splitting the fight. Lulu compensates for you in this situation, leaving Xayah completely exposed, and as a result, we lose the team fight, Xayah dies, and now the game again is considerably harder. This is another situation where saying no to the play, leaving Amumu to die, and just sitting on top of your Xayah, or even just letting Amumu die and then maybe there is no fight, the game again is considerably easier. And now notice, guys, the key to developing this skill is visualization. Visualizing what would happen if I were to simply say no. What would happen if I simply sat back and said no to this play, right? Again, that's not easy. We're going to go talk about the review process later on, but I'm just really kind of trying to plant that seed in here. Now, this one's one of my personal favorites. This one is actually in Master Tier in NA, right? And as you can see here, we've got a very, very clear win condition. We've got a fed Vayne. Vayne just got a triple kill. Vayne into a set Olaf Aurelia. For any of you who understand the game even to a remote level, we understand that as soon as Vayne goes back to base, spends that gold, gets Bork, this Vayne is going to be out of control, and there is no way that these champions can really deal with a fed Vayne, right? So all we need to do really is kind of play mid to top, leave Seraphine on an island, and just play around that Vayne, and it's a pretty free win, right? So in this situation, Dyna comes back, gets mid tower, we're chilling. All we got to do is say no, maybe clear some jungle camps, grab the blue buff, farm up for your rocker belt, wait for Vayne to recall. But what do? Oh, bot's pushed up. My Skarner's in base. My Vayne's still topside, hasn't based. Dyna tries to make a play bot side. Fast forwarding a little bit, goes bot on a roam, no ultimate, no flash, no ignite, no rocket belt. Kills the Ezreal, guys, but at what cost? Now the enemy's collapsing. We're not playing anywhere near our win condition. We're not playing off our key spikes. We're not playing off our key pivotal members. The fight gets elongated. Olaf comes by. Aurelia comes by. We're in a really commanding position, yet we're just trading kills now. Aurelia's able to get another kill here. We have to burn a bunch of summoners on our team. And so what would have been a play that basically never should have happened, 2 for 2 members died when we're in a favorable position. Trading kills went ahead really isn't that good. And yet this Vayne still hasn't base and spent gold. We didn't need to make a play. And guys, I want you to visualize with me. If we go back, right, all the way back here, we get this tower. Maybe we hover, get a deep Warden Raptors, see if the Raptors are up, or even go back, grab blue buff, put some nice wards out, whatever. Simply doing nothing right now. Simply just farming. Not making a roam play, not trying to solo kill someone, not trying to do something crazy. Your chances of winning the game are significantly higher. Okay, guys, I'm really trying to get you guys to think in this particular way. League rewards consistency. Because we have to play so many games a season to get the rank we want, you're not going to win every single game. We need to be able to perform consistently to climb the solo queue ladder. The game rewards consistently good decision-making, good quality decision-making. And the problem is that in order to be a consistent league player, you not only have to be good at making plays, you have to be good at saying no to plays, right? Climbing, like I said, and like I've shown with those clips just from before, sometimes requires you saying no and not making a play. And which for a lot of people, it's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's actually quite boring and actually really hard to identify. Consistent League of Legends for a lot of people is boring League of Legends. And I'm actually going to walk you through a visual representation of this problem, some of the problems why people struggle to improve upon this skill. Now, let's say hypothetically, a play presents itself and it's actually quite a bad play, right? Let's just take, that Kiana example where the Kiana goes onto the Zac and dies, right? We take that bad play and die. That's one of the options. The next option is that we take that bad play, it somehow works out, like the enemy misplay, the stars align, you get quite lucky, you get kills, that can happen. Or sometimes, the option, as I've mentioned, you can say no to that bad play, but nothing happens. There's no wow factor. No one dies, no big dopamine play happens, nothing happens. These are kind of like the 3 options, right? Now, if we play this out, let's say you take a bad play and you die. Most of the time, there's going to be more plays happening in the game. Unless this was the last one in the game and everyone just gives up in FFs, most of the time there are going to be other plays, other opportunities. In which case, the same three options present themselves. Now, let's say hypothetically you take in the first play, right, that Kiana, you kill that Zac, or so you go bot, you don't kill that Zac, you die. There'll be another play. Let's say the next time you take another quote-unquote suboptimal play, but you actually get lucky and the stars align. A lot of the time, and this actually ties into what I believe to be the main problem, I've noticed that people are very good at justifying or overriding the negatives that happen in the game with maybe one or two positives. If you win that game, or even if you don't win the game, let's say you make one or two plays that you get lucky, you get a bunch of kills, we seem to tunnel vision on the plays that do work, and we justify whatever happened in the past up until that point. So we fail to get into the review and actually go to those moments where, we actually did die and really try to problem solve them. So this is one of the main reasons I believe people don't really generate consistent gameplay. The second one is that there is no real wow factor when you say no to a play. There's no big dopamine play, right? No one's dying. If we visualize that Kiana going bot and just catching that wave, shoving it at him, recalling, nothing happens. No big objective, no big fight. You're not getting that surge of dopamine. There's that lack of wow factor that really people find it difficult. That's what I've noticed. People find it difficult because of that lack of dopamine. And then the third one is the lack of review quality. If you're not getting into the review and visualizing alternatives, and we're going to talk about this in the next slide, how to actually review in the post-game review to generate consistency. Because of that lack of review quality, people don't really seem to visualize alternatives and understand what other options actually existed in these given scenarios. Now, look guys, I'm going to caveat something here. I have nothing wrong with taking risky plays as long as you get into the review and you really identify, okay, there were other alternatives and this actually was risky and I actually probably shouldn't have taken this play. If you go through that process, then I have nothing wrong with it. But taking risky play after risky play and not getting into the review is a very slippery slope to go down, and it will lead to a lack of consistency in your gameplay. But it's very essential in the long run to your improvement to really learn how to review these plays. So you may ask, how do I improve this consistency? This is where we need to start visualizing alternative scenarios of what actually happens if we don't make these plays. This requires a lot of curiosity. And I like to use what I call the micro-macro framework. So let's dive into a few examples of me actually showing you how to review utilizing this framework. So now we're going to get into the actual review process. How do I improve upon this idea or this concept of consistency or simply saying no? Well, I believe it's mainly done in the post game, right? And so the framework that I mentioned before is the micro-macro. So we're actually going to use that example of the Ari player. So the first thing that I do, and this is the framework that I recommend to a lot of my clients, is we look at it first and foremost from a micro perspective. And when I mean micro, yes, ability usage, target selection, all that good stuff comes into play. Obviously positioning as well. So first and foremost, we'll look through the play maybe 2 or 3 times through the lens of a micro lens. Could I have used my abilities better? Could I have selected a different target? Could I have hit a different skill shot or dodge this particular skill shot? Could I have done anything better mechanically? We can get into the details here and look at, your Q usage could have been better. Target selection, look, this is the only real target here in this situation. Whatever. You get the point. You look at it first and foremost through a micro perspective. Once I've looked at the play a few times from a micro perspective, I then go back and I zoom out and I say, okay, let's look at it from a macro perspective. Was this play even worth taking? That's the first question I asked myself. Was this play worth taking? So then I said to myself, okay, well, what did I get for it? What actually happened? So then I look at it holistically. Okay, my Amumu died. He was going to die anyway. I kill no one in this situation. I die, I burn ult, my Xayah dies, and it looks like my Lulu actually dies as well. So in this case, it's actually pretty easy to break down from a macro perspective. This probably wasn't the best play because there really wasn't much room for micro improvement. So then I said to myself, okay, if this wasn't the right play to make, what are my alternatives here? if I were to say no to this and not go in and dive onto this Aurelion Sol, what are my options here? How could I have played this better from like a macro perspective, a holistic perspective here? Okay, well, given who's fed on my team and given my strong members and given my win conditions and given what I see right now, both in terms of my summoners, my items, everything, what could I have done? Well, I actually could have probably turned around right now because Amumu is kind of out of the fight. And because Xayah is really fed, I actually could have just chilled here, sat more so by the Xayah, peeled the Xayah away from the Cho'Gath, and played some semblance of a front-to-back team fight. That actually seems like a little bit of a better idea. Now, in this case, it's actually relatively straightforward because in this case, you have a 5-0 Xayah Lulu. They obviously have a very clear way of fighting, and there wasn't really many options. But the premise is still the same, right? Let's actually talk about this using another clip. So referring back to the Kiana clip, right? Again, if we'll look at it from a micro perspective, you can look at it and be like, well, you know, there was actually really not much I could have done in terms of damage output here. No matter what I did with my combo, I'm never going to be able to kill that Zac. And you could look at it from a perspective of, oh, that was actually not really good because I didn't actually assess that the Zac was full, you know, full tank, and I didn't realize that there's no way I could have actually bursted the Zac. And you can get into those details and we can really look at that, and that's relatively straightforward, right? So again, from a micro perspective, it's, you know, yeah, maybe we could have done a bit better of a job of avoiding those Zerath R's on the back end. But again, from a micro perspective here, this is relatively straightforward. But then if we zoom out and look at it from a macro perspective, I can then ask myself, okay, well, what did I get from this? Well, I didn't actually get anything in this instance. So again, it's pretty easy to say that this wasn't the best play. What are my alternatives? And this is where we need to start visualizing for a second. Okay, could I have actually cleared the wave, shoved and reset? Should I even have TP'd in the first place? Was it actually better for me to just not TP here and actually stay mid? Was I even needed to defend that tower? That's a really good question. What would have happened? Try and visualize what would have happened if I were to stay mid instead of TPing here. Could Jarvan even have died? Maybe not. Right? These are good quality questions to ask yourself. So this is literally what I do for my pivotal skirmishes and team fights and like kind of big pivotal decisions in my own review process. I use this macro framework to break down my alternatives. Now remember guys, this requires a lot of curiosity. Right? If I'm not curious and I'm coming with this egotistical mentality of like, yes, the play I made was correct, screw what anyone else thinks, that was just my team for my bot lane, my shitty bot lane for dying in this situation, right? You could tunnel vision on that if you really wanted to, but that's not really going to get you many results. What matters here, guys, is that we're curious, we're open-minded. We're not attached to any one decision we make in a game. We need to step back for a second and let's just pretend that decision we made, just from an experiment perspective, let's just pretend that the option we made was suboptimal and that there does exist a better alternative. And if you have that mentality heading into things with this very open-minded, curious mentality, you're going to have a lot easier time of identifying these alternatives. And remember, guys, you're not going to be able to break down this perfectly and identify and visualize all the perfect alternatives like myself. That's just delusional. Like, at the end of the day, guys, you might only say, let's say in a given scenario, there are 4 alternatives. Even if you do this process yourself and maybe you spot 1 alternative or 2 alternatives, that is better than nothing. The actual act of being curious getting into the details and trying to identify alternatives, that is what will lead to you having a sophisticated game understanding in the long run. Imagine if you did this exact process for 1,000 team fights across a year. Just imagine how sophisticated your understanding of the game would be if you did this 1,000 times across one season. You can already see how this will pay dividends over the long run. This is what getting into the details is all about. Now, I believe there is a stifling of curiosity at large within the League community. If you open your YouTube feed or your Twitter, these are the sorts of narratives that are pushed. These are the things that you see. The average player goes onto their feed, especially an average newer player, will see these sorts of videos. The most overpowered champion. This champion got buffed. This meta here. This tier list here. Actually, that's actually one of the main reasons I stopped doing tier lists, by the way. That's a different story. My point being, guys, is that, you know, if you have a very tough game, or let's say you have a tough block, let's say you play in blocks of 3, you follow the MLA and the BBC mantra, and you play in a 3 block, and you go 0-3. the most convenient natural response, especially if this is what you're seeing on your social media feed, is to, you'd probably think, oh yeah, maybe my champion is bad. Or, oh yeah, maybe this champ does suck in the meta. Or maybe that champion is OP. That's why I lost that game. Or, oh yeah, maybe I should check the win rates of my teammates in these games. Whatever the hell it might be, something that is convenient, tangible, something that is so easy to grab onto that I guess gives you an excuse to not get into the details and take responsibility for the quality of your decision making. Now, guys, this is a very complicated topic because I don't blame these content creators and these big companies for making these videos because it gets clicks, right? And it gets clicks. They need to make a living. They want to sell you their product, whatever it might be. I get it. Right, and I'm not here to shit on these content creators, right? At the end of the day, they're just going to make content that you guys click on. But my point being, guys, is that these things, the OP champs, the metas, the items, all this crap, it's really, I guarantee you, it's not the reason you're struggling in your games. It's the quality of your decision making. This is the narrative or the message that I'm trying to push. We try to push this within the Broken by Concept podcast. I try to push it within my Midlane Academy program, my Midlane School program with my lower elo clients. This is what I'm trying to get across. And I understand that that these things are relevant, but they're very, very minuscule in the grand scheme of things, guys. So you may ask, what does a lack of curiosity look like, right? So if you were lacking curiosity, and I see this with some MLA clients, what would it look like? Well, okay, let's use that Diana example to break down what a lack of curiosity would look like. All right, so in this instance, again, the Diana moves bot and takes this play. In this instance, the Diana kills the Ezreal and continues to go forward, kills the Lux, I believe, here as well. And then the enemy come down, they collapse. I think the Olaf dies as well, but Seraphine dies and the Skarner dies. A lack of curiosity would be like, I mean, look, it's not bad. I mean, I lived, I got a bunch of kills, and it's a 2 for 3 at the end of the day. It's not that bad. It's, I'm still fine. I mean, the game's still okay. Right? It's not like the Nexus is exploding. It's not like we're losing inhibs. It's not like we're losing major objectives. It's not that bad. Right? So a lack of curiosity is essentially we just automatically assume that because the play wasn't, quote unquote, in our mind, terrible, that it's just okay. It's just whatever. We become okay and we accept the mediocre decision. We don't visualize, was there any way we could have played this better mechanically? And then again, zooming out, okay, was this even the right play to make? What is my win con here? Why are we trading 3 for 2 when we're so far ahead? That's actually a really good question, right? And then again, that the lack of curiosity manifests in this either a egotistical attachment to the decision you made in the game, or typically, more commonly, an obsession over your teammates' mistakes and how they influence the fight, rather than how you could have contributed to the situation, whether via communicating better, pinging better, mechanically playing it better, or even having more context of the win conditions and not even going to that fight in the first place. Again, all of this requires leaving your ego at the door, and really trying to be obsessed about how you contributing to the outcome of the game. Even though that sounds really simple, it's not, as we all know, League can bring out a lot of emotions. It's easier said than done. I understand it's not easy. But over time, as we practice this and we get better, because reviewing is a skill at the end of the day, guys, this is very possible for each and every one of you. I know for a fact it is. A lot of you might watch this video and interpret what I'm saying as, okay, that means you shouldn't take any risky play, you should never limit test, and you should basically always say no to everything and just kind of do what I want to do. Well, no, that's not really, it's kind of what I mean, but really not. And if you interpret it like that, you're going to face a big problem. Guys, limit testing and taking quote unquote risky plays or low percentage plays is part of the learning journey, right? I don't really recommend you saying no to absolutely everything. There's only one way to find out the limitations of your champion or understand what a good play or a bad play is. That's by failure, right? Failing, dying, losing your team games. That's very normal. I like to talk about this concept I created called kind of alternating between a conservative and limit testing phase, right? So I like to use the analogy of kind of like a speedometer, right? So let's say on that speedometer, it goes up to 100 miles an hour. And let's say when we're going really, really slow, we're going to 10 miles an hour. If we are saying yes to every single play, just going balls to the wall, limit test everything, we're going 100 miles an hour. We're going fast. We're saying yes, go, 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 go. If we're being ultra conservative, we're going 10 miles an hour. We're going really slow. We're saying no to everything. We're being ultra conservative. Ultimately, in your learning journey, in your solo queue journey, you need to be actively alternating between these two phases to find that perfect middle ground. You need to go through these rapid phases of limit testing and saying yes to things and getting uncomfortable to figure out what works and what doesn't work, what the limitations are of your champion, especially if you play a limit test or like skirmish-oriented champion like a Kiana, a Fizz, a LeBlanc, an Ari, Zed, a Yasuo, a Yone, etc. But then you don't want to stay in that phase for too long. If you stay in this phase for too long, you're going to lose your mind and you're not going to get any LP. So I recommend we alternate between this limit testing phase and this conservative phase, being very conservative, valuing life, high percentage plays only. I would say every 15 to 20 games if you're the average player, ranging between gold to diamond. This way, we get the best of both worlds. We feel what it's like to play 9 TS per minute with no deaths heading into 15 minutes, playing off our key spikes. Alternatively, we know what it feels like to say yes to everything, and influence river skirmishes and roams and do all this crazy shit. Then, over time of constantly alternating between these two styles, we can find this middle ground and really identify what is the optimal way of playing our champion and what should we be saying yes and no to. So this is what I call the alternation between conservative and limit testing phases. Based off what I see on a daily basis within my mid lane school program, my mid lane academy program, this is basically my take on the significance of meta, role balance, game balance. It only starts to matter in Master Plus, right? That's my take. It only starts to matter in Master Plus. Master Plus, it becomes relevant. It's a factor. It's not everything, but it's definitely relevant. Below Master, it's incredibly insignificant. You could play anything you want and have your own interpretation of the game completely in silver and gold and platinum and even in diamond, because everyone is making such fundamental errors. What you play according to the meta and what role is strong or weak has very, very little sway over whether or not you win or lose games, guys. So this is my take. I know that might piss a lot of you off, but guys, I see this on a daily basis. Go to those clips. That's what I see. Someone comes to review. That is the quality of the decision making I'm seeing. All right. I never exit a review and be like, oh gosh darn it, right, really messed this one up. This guy's really getting gated by the meta or the items of this. No, they're dying to ganks. They're saying yes to crap plays. It's the quality of the decision making, guys. In Master Plus, basic mistakes still happen. They're just less common, right? And there are also less gaps in champion mastery. Therefore, the raw numbers and the meta does come into play a lot more. Even inside of my Master Plus reviews, I still see fundamental errors like I saw in that Diana clip that, still suggests that meta isn't overly important in low master. It becomes relevant for sure, but the higher you get Grandmaster Challenger, it definitely matters. For 99% of the player base, this fluff is negligible and not where you should be directing your attention. And guys, I'm not here to say that the game being broken doesn't affect us at all. What I'm saying is that these slight changes or shifts in balance, role, strength, meta are not the reason you're failing to climb, not even remotely close. And I understand Ryan aren't perfect, right? They've actually done a pretty good job to create a pretty bloody balanced game. For those of you who haven't played the game in Season 1, Season 2, the game was a hell of a lot less balanced in Season 1, Season 2, Season 3 than it is now. The game is incredibly balanced now comparatively to what it used to be. And I've never once felt during my time that Riot or the game was preventing me from climb. I am the sole reason. My decisions are the sole reason I am, or I'm winning or losing games. So it's a tough pill to swallow. Some of you may say, screw you, Curtis. You don't know what you're talking about. Guys, I'm just telling you what I see on a daily basis from every server at every rank. So whether you want to hear the facts or not, that's ultimately up to you. So hopefully you take a thing or two away from this, or this hopefully inspires you to want to get into the details. Otherwise, I'll see you around for another video. Cheers.